like the best video ever.
This is great.
We got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
Hi.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Wednesday. Super excited to have you guys here on Say That channel. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been here on a Wednesday, so we're happy to see you all. For those of you who are here for the first time, please go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. We want to shout you out. If you are not a first timer, if you are a part of Say That Nation, go ahead and put a 2 in the chat. We want to shout you out as well. And here on Say That channel, we are unapologetic about the ugly come up of entrepreneurship and small business ownership. You know how you hear those stories about people who start from nothing and then all of a sudden have massive success? And you're like, but what happened in the middle? What happened during the ugly come up? Well, that is what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Janelle Villiers. That over there is Winston, and we are your hosts for the Say That channel. So we have a topic question of the day. To get our brains thinking, to get into conversation. And then we have 25 minutes to answer that question of the day. And then what happens when we run out of time? Oh no, what do we do? Follow us over on Patreon. There it is right there. You can also find the links in the description below, where we will go into more detail with our guests to get into the topic that we've been talking about. And let me just tell you, there is a treasure trove of really good information there. We have all of the recordings from our guests are there, all of their overtime. So please make sure you click on that link and become one of our Patreon members there. Also, look, you know we're about to have a really good show because we haven't been here in a while. So you know you better subscribe, hit that notification bell, do all the thumbs up, all the things.
Say that.
Yeah, that tells the algorithm that we're doing something really good and important, and then that spreads it to more people. So it's free, it doesn't cost you anything. We thank you and we appreciate you ahead of time.
Absolutely. Let's jump into today's topic, guys.
Is your tolerance for rejection hurting your business? Great question. Well, before we get into it, we are not the only ones answering today's topic question of the day. I am super excited to bring our guest on today. She is an attorney. She is a podcaster. She is an entrepreneur. Everybody, please help me welcome to the stage, Marianne Cadet.
Our next guest.
There she is.
Hey, welcome in, Marianne.
Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Hi from the Bahamas.
You are our second international guest. We're happy to have you on.
Absolutely.
So for those who are meeting you for the first time, Marianne, please tell us a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur in your journey.
Okay, well, I'm an avid traveler, so I love traveling. So my entrepreneur journey first started off when I became a part of a travel business. And so I enjoyed the travel aspect, and also I started off with the business aspect. It then pushed me greater into entrepreneurship, and I became a podcaster, also a transformation coach, and I'm also an aspiring author. So my book is almost ready, and you guys should be able to access it soon. But besides that, I am an attorney. I'm a public defender. I've been an attorney for 13 years, and I specialize in criminal defense.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. So I'm sure everyone can understand why Marianne would be an excellent person to get into today's question. So what are your thoughts, Marianne? Is your tolerance for rejection hurting your business?
Definitely. And I learned that from the travel business and also in the legal profession. And so if I could just go to the travel aspect first.
Sure.
So personally, a little bit about me. Okay. So I am an introvert. I always introduce myself as an introvert, but I have extrovert moments. Okay. And and so I had to deal with rejection at an early age when I was a little girl. And so questions about, whether you deserve, whether people are going to accept you, it came up early on. And I did a study, a lot of persons, more than 50% of persons, when they go through trauma with rejection, it happens at an early age. Some in school, some my parents, family members, but it starts young. And so this is something that goes with us into adulthood, right? And so one of the things I had to deal with in the travel business is that, I had to speak to people about the travel business, And so with the fear of rejection, a lot of persons with fear of rejection, they don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to expose themselves, because what if someone don't accept me? What if I don't become successful in this area, and that was the first thing that I had to tackle. I was able to get to a good position in the business, but I had to deal with that aspect, of putting myself out there, facing rejection head on. Because some people, and other persons who have businesses, there are going to be people who are for you, and there are going to be people who this is not for them. But it doesn't mean that you don't have a good product. You understand? And a lot of times we internalize rejection. But like I said, I spoke to Janelle when we talked, normally people make rejection about them, right? But the thing is that we reject things all the time. We reject, we choose our political parties, we choose our teams, we choose our partners. And when you choose, sometimes you have to reject to choose. And so it's about how you look at things, And so putting myself out there, that was my first, even though I'm an attorney and everything, but that's my skill area. Normally when you are so skilled in an area, you have that confidence builds that confidence. So you're not afraid to go out there and do that. But this was a different area for me now. I'm going to be speaking on travel. People don't know me like that, And so you have to go and you have to build credibility. You have to expose yourself. And I was speaking even before I tried the product, And then when I tried the product, of course, I could speak even more about it. But putting myself out there, was a major thing. And I think for persons who have been rejected, putting yourself out there, that vulnerability is a big deal. And then when in my career as an attorney, one of my bosses spoke to me about, he said that we are all in sales. We are all in sales, okay? Not just the person at the retail store. We are all in sales. We're selling our skills. We're selling, our, credibility. We're selling ourselves by our products, no matter what the product is. And so we are all in sales. And so it helps you, when you think like that, to understand that, people have to, most of the times, have to see things for them to purchase it. So people have to know about you. They have to see what you have to offer, and that will take you putting yourself out there, So it's a challenge, I know, for persons who have dealt with rejection, to put yourself out there. But there's some other things too, you have to deal with as well when you put yourself out there, doing the work, the background work, especially in accepting yourself. It's easier for you to put yourself out there when you're working and healing and accepting yourself. So, yeah, I hope I answered the first question.
Yes.
Yeah, very well, very well.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a question? Because I have a question.
You can go.
Okay. So I'm really curious, actually, where you ended up sharing at the very end, right? You talked about this idea of self-acceptance being the key to being able to talk to people during sales, right? where you are entering a place where people have to make a decision and by default may reject you based on that decision. So I'm curious, what is some of the work that you have seen that's been really helpful in getting more and accepting ourselves better? What are some things that you have seen that have been helpful in helping ourselves accept ourselves better?
I think we have to, is a question and answer. That's something that I had to do, is why do I do this? Why am I like this? Why do I like this? Because when we question ourselves, then we're able to dig deeper. So if I get angry so quickly when someone says something that I don't like, where does that come from? And then you get to dig, why, what's upsetting about that? Because I feel like they're not accepting me when they don't agree with what it is that I am saying. So once you start asking yourself questions, then you're able to go ahead and know the area that you have to deal with. You have to become open and honest with yourself in the trauma. This is the area that I struggle. This is the area that I've been hurt. This is really affecting me. And then you start to work on that. And then the other things is knowing that, for a lot of things, you are not alone. It has happened to other persons. Other persons have experienced what you have experienced. So you don't have to feel like you're this, you know what I mean? You're just this special, it happens to a lot of persons. And when you're able to, normalize it, it helps you to be able to, accept yourself. And then, of course, the self-talk, a lot of us have had years and years of negative self-talk. So we have to start, changing that. And it's a process. I've seen one of my friends, Mitch, she always talks about looking in the mirror. And I look in the mirror and, say good things, you have to retrain. So saying some good things about yourself and, then you get to accept yourself and you won't take yourself so seriously, because a lot of times even when we make mistakes, sometimes people don't even notice it. They don't notice we make the mistakes. And to them, that might have been the highlight. That might have been the biggest thing, and even with some of the vulnerable moments that we have, when we spoke about the travel aspect, a lot of persons spoke about how, they came from humble beginnings or, how they always wanted to travel and this opened up a new door, but you have to share that. You have to share that vulnerability, and it connects with others. That's how you get to connect with others, with the want that person wants, so that they can purchase you or purchase your product. So you have to do that connection. So it's a connection.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. So I think something that you or that's coming up for me, that as you talk about it, it's like asking people the deeper questions. Like I remember just in terms of even sharing the travel idea, and you'd sit there and you'd essentially, let's say you ask somebody to buy and they said no. And often I felt there was so much more value from trying to understand why somebody would say no to that. Like you'd see their face when they're watching the video if you push play, and they're like into it. And at the end, and that was something that was like always fascinating me. Like I'd want to understand, why wouldn't you want to do this? Like, and for some people, like, we'd get the, oh, it's a scam or it's one of those things. But I'd be like, honest to God, like asking the person, yeah, but besides all that, whatever, right? But like, why wouldn't you like just jump at this idea of asking people deeper questions and not, to your point, taking their initial response and trying to understand, why are you behaving like this to this? I know you were into this. Like, why are you turning away to it? Or why are you saying no to it now? I think if you could just ask a second time why somebody's responding the way they are to something, it may give them an opportunity to stop in the moment and say, why am I responding this way? Maybe I'm giving like an automatic response. We're so conditioned sometimes to just say no, I notice it even
Yeah.
with my son. With my son, sometimes just I'm in a certain space and he'll say something, and I have to like make myself present to what he's actually requesting of me. Because I think sometimes my
Mm-hmm.
default is just to say no. Oh, I'm busy, so no. And then I'm like, wait, what did you just ask me to do? Oh, yeah, oh, I could actually do that. Yeah, I can do that. So sometimes we're just not really present to what's in front of us. You feel like that's an experience you
Yeah.
think people or you believe people have as well?
Yeah, I do believe, because it's what persons are used to sometimes. It's within the comfort zone. Because what you're requesting or requiring them to do is something, maybe they've never seen someone around them do. Maybe they think that this is too big for them. Like, how do I get to like Dubai and South Africa and stay that, like, and what it would cause is for them to come step outside the limiting belief. So sometimes you can ask a person, why, and you ask the person why so that they can start to think, because it's like, what is the issue? Is it a time issue? Is it a money issue, etc.? And then, even if you say if it's a money issue, then it's like, you need to work on something because the money is stopping you from going after your goals or your dreams. What are some other small steps that you can make or whatever in that direction? If it's a time issue, sometimes you don't know how long you'll have.
Yeah, man.
Maybe that's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
you need to consider. But even when you ask, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be that person's decision, because sometimes we can't get out of that position that we're in. It takes a longer process to get out of that, but it also helps you as the person who is selling maybe the product, or you get to know, like, it's a reservation for other people.
Other people. Yeah.
You get to tailor your your approach as well too. So it's also a learning it's a learning situation as well.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I think in it doesn't matter what the even as we've started to help people now in putting out a book, those same reasons. I don't have the time to write. I don't have the time to learn how to do, I don't have the money to invest in a marketing company, or I don't have the money to invest in editors. Whatever. It's like those same, general
Yeah.
reasons, I think in any entrepreneurial venture seem to be
Mhm.
the thing people use as their reason to not step out and do something big and affect people in a positive way.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely.
So, so I want to go back to revisit the connection bit that you were talking about, and having when you can make connections with people. I think that's a helpful way to get them to open up and maybe really reconsider, why they're saying no, maybe, and that kind of a thing. But in the spirit of connecting with somebody, you mentioned that it's important to also share vulnerability that you yourself may have. So it made me question, or I'm curious, really. Um, you are so well spoken now about these types of, like, this type of awareness. Is there something that you yourself went through? Could you be perhaps vulnerable for a moment and share with us something about something that you learned for yourself that you are now helping others do?
Okay, so I just decided like a few years ago, well, 2014. I went to a retreat because this retreat was saying for you to step out. I felt like I was in a box, and I just felt like this wasn't me. I am called to be more than this. This is so constraining, and I went on the retreat, but even before going on the retreat, and I would speak to my cousins or brothers, they're like, you don't need to do anything. There's nothing wrong with you. You're great, But I wasn't happy with where I was at, because I thought there was more to me. And going on that retreat, made me deal with the trauma, you know, why I was feeling so stuck. And, when I was a little girl, I was in primary school, and me and my friend, we were racing and etc. And then a teacher said a comment, basically saying, don't let that Haitian girl beat you, And I think I was very young, maybe 5 or 6. And for me, I was like, I'm Haitian, what? I didn't even know that because I'm just a kid, I'm just running, having fun. And then the part about don't let her beat you is like, so why can't I win? Why not me? Why not? And so like internally, I had to choose, okay, if I can still pursue things because that point or that time could be very critical. I could have just not been like a person who would pursue my goals or dreams or anything like that, because I would have just accepted that. But I challenged it. But even though I challenged it, it still had residues that I took with me, as to, are people going to look at me different because of, my ethnicity, of my parents being immigrants, etc. And what I did is I hid a lot. I hid, and I hid. But when you are like you're good at what you do or whatever, I was always being pulled into the light. And I would be fighting and fighting, but I wanted to do well. I did well in school, and that brought a lot of attention, etc. And yeah, so the light was always pulling me, but I also was dealing with the fact that I tried to hide my light, etc. And when I went to the retreat, I got to like, this is the issue that I'm dealing with. And it made me want to dig in more. And I digged in and I asked myself those questions. Why was I doing this? Why did I and I tried to get to know myself, because really, when people are dealing with rejection, and rejection comes with a lot of things, even like people pleasing, etc. You do not show up authentically yourself, and after that, I said, you know what? I don't want my little nieces or other young children to deal with that. They may deal with rejection, but they don't have to go through the process I did. They can be better. They can learn. And so that's why I decided to write the book, so I could help people to be, aware, educate, and help people to overcome. You don't have to wait until 10 years, 15 years. Yes, it happens. Rejection happens. It don't have to be a bad thing. It can also be a good thing. You do it, and you're able to just shine. I want people to be able to be themselves, shine, etc. So that's what inspired me to do that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's super relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. I was just thinking like the idea of like being told that you can't do something and then enter, you could take out because you're Haitian in your case and put in something else, right? Like somebody else was told that they couldn't do something for another reason. And then how that's interpreted. And then now you find yourself like running away or like hiding from attention because you don't want to be kind of rejected in that way. And then if it's not addressed, then how it presents itself as an adult, right? Because that happened so long ago, but now as an adult, it manifests in like a different way, which I think how like amazing is that or valuable is that you went to this retreat and were able to have space to think about that and reflect. Identify.
I was wondering, what are some, I know you mentioned the retreat, but what are some other things you think you've either done in your life, read, experiences you've had that have kind of helped build up your tolerance to rejection, to help you see things the way you do now?
Well, firstly, I would say, it's also the way that I was raised too. My parents, my family, they always believed in me. They were like the biggest supporters. I was like, what are you seeing, And I had to get there as well, So I had the community, despite me feeling that way. I had a community And then it was also my faith. My faith, told me I can do all things. So I had my faith, I had my community, and then I also had the dreams and the goals that I had. So it built like the resilience, despite the fact that I might be rejected in this area, because I had to fight a lot, not physically, but I had to fight a lot of things that I wanted, somewhat, because I came out. So I'm gonna give you a quick story. So again, when I was in primary school at the elementary school,
Oh, we didn't
it's
tell you
okay.
what that. We forgot to tell you what that meant.
No, I told her before that
Okay. My bad.
So now, look, if you want to hear the rest of Marianne's story, you gotta come on to overtime.
Yeah.
We got to hear that story. I'm so interested to hear where that's going. The link to join us in overtime is all in the description below, or if you're on Facebook above. So please go ahead and join us. Marianne, this was so helpful. Thank you for walking us through this and what this really looks like and what this could really mean for people. We want to hear more about this book that you're writing. We love that you're a transformation coach and that you're making huge impacts for people and their lives, and that means a lot for us. So if you got a lot from Marianne today, please go ahead and put a V in the chat so we know, and let her know that you got some value.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm so excited for overtime. You don't even know.
Also, guys, if you have any other questions that you didn't get an opportunity to write in the chat on Ask, please throw that in the chat now. We will definitely pass that on to her. We always read the comments, and we'll make sure we get that answer to you. But until next time, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that.
We'll see you guys in overtime.